Hi guys, I am Aryan, a student here at IIT Delhi. I am in second year in the Materials Science and Engineering department, and I am also executive for the publicity and outreach branch of the MSES Society. And today I am here with Professor Lakshmi Narayan to have a conversation about our branch and some other stuff as well. So please stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Professor Lakshmi Narayan, and I'm a faculty in this department. I work on metals essentially, and I try to understand the structure property coefficients in metals and alloys, and also work on the field of additive manufacturing, metallic glasses and composites, and many more. So, very happy to interact with Aryan today, and let's take it forward.
Okay, so sir, one of the most basic and intuitive questions that anybody would encounter when they hear about this discipline would be, what exactly is materials science? So for the larger audience, in simple layman terms, if you had to put it together, please.
So if you look at most engineering fields, they talk about physical phenomena in a very broader sense. Now, our discipline is very special because it combines three very fundamental disciplines: physics, chemistry and mathematics, and applies them to understand the physical, mechanical, functional, electrical, magnetic, or whatever property you can think of the material, right? So we are trying to understand how the internal structure, which starts from the atomic scale, goes to the microscopic scale, to the mesoscopic scale and the bulk scale, to understand what properties we are getting and how we can manipulate these structures in all these hierarchies that we talked about, or all these scales we talked about, so that we can enhance their properties. So this is the fundamental nutshell of how material science is perceived and what material science and engineering is. So you could also think of it like some kind of an analogy that can be built is that you see, for example, you want to understand a material, you have to spend time with it, you observe it. So observation of materials comes into characterization, right? Then you want to also deform it, so you sort of put the material in different kind of situations. So it involves some kind of a detective work. You do a detective kind of work, you piece together the puzzle, and then you say what could be the prima facie reason a material behaves or does a certain, or exhibits a certain behavior under certain environments. So material science and engineering is a philosophical study of materials itself.
So another thing that the students, including me, are curious about is, what opportunities does this branch unlock for us in the future? Like, if we want to pursue some, core jobs in the future or some opportunities, so what all fields are open for us?
So let me tell you one very important thing that people must realize when they join an engineering stream. Each engineering stream is very unique. For example, computer science offers a lot of these coding jobs or tech jobs that you hear about. The tech jobs actually are in so much demand that they open up their doors for even engineers that don't traditionally do computer science. But because computer science has become a very global field, right, or in the sense that its applicability has become very global, they are happy taking all kinds of engineers at every level. Material science engineers, as such, if you want to understand what role they play in a society or in technology, is that it is very, very specific to companies that develop new things. Like, for example, it could be as simple as working in a company which develop tires. Companies like 3M, which produce interesting materials or interesting adhesives or interesting products every year or every decade, they also employ materials engineers. So essentially all companies need to have a good materials engineer. Okay. Now, getting jobs, as I said, certain streams will always have a bigger demand for jobs. In material science, one needs to also remember that they have to be very patient. Patient in the sense that understanding and reaching a certain level in material science and engineering requires some kind of focused learning, right? And of course, our curriculum has been designed in a way that you can actually graduate as a very nice engineer. The jobs that you will be getting initially will not be very high paying. So you cannot say that I am going to compare myself with a computer science engineer or an electrical engineer who will start earning, let's say, 30 or 40 lakhs per annum. That is a bit unrealistic. Because if you go to any typical materials engineering company, they will take you at a lower level, they will train you to what is required for that particular industry. They will want you to pick up experience, and once you pick up experience, you become indispensable. Now this is very different than that you see in a computer science job, because in computer science jobs there is a very high attrition rate. People are recycled quite often, people jump jobs, people leave their jobs and go for other degrees saying that I am not meant to be a coder. You hear about these things. But if you really are passionate about materials, you need to give it time. Because it takes time to understand material, just like it takes time to understand a person. So as such, job opportunities are available, but not all of them will be very high paying. But if you spend enough time, you become indispensable, you reach higher levels in the company, and it's more like playing a long game. So these are the kind of opportunities, especially almost all product companies, they want materials engineers.
Okay, sir. So a little bit of a personal question, aapse. If you could go back in time to the beginning of your career, or let's say your college education, so if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Actually, I am sort of a person who does not regret anything in life. Even if I make mistakes, I sort of tell myself that unless I had made this mistake, I would have never understood the consequences of this. And this helps me to advise others and not to make a mistake, because I will know what will happen. So my advice to myself would be, don't think about what is happening, what is going to happen in the future. Just follow whatever you are doing passionately, which is what I was doing anyway at that time. So that's my answer.
So, sir, now a question that I feel like most IIT fellow batchmates of mine and even my seniors, juniors would agree with. कि उनका भी ये सवाल है, what are your views on 8 classes, खास करके जो winters में होती है?
Now, if you ask, like linking back to the previous question you asked, you said what would you tell your younger self? I would say that at that time, even I was a sort of an adolescent, right? So I was trying to understand why people need to wake up early, and I would have the same view as you do, that why should we wake up and go for classes at 8 a.m. So to me, I certainly do not subscribe to it, or personally don't endorse it. But the institute does it for several reasons, because they are not able to accommodate the classes within a certain amount of time period. So this is always a debate, you will always find your parents as well as teachers giving the advice that Vivekananda says that, Mahatma Gandhi says that, Abdul Kalam says that, wake up early, otherwise you are dumb. All these things I have been hearing as well. And frankly, I never used to follow this till I was a PhD, until I finished my PhD. Even after that, only when I became very passionate, then I realized that sleep is secondary. See, there is a saying, if you see this movie, The Sleep, right? It has this guy, Abhishek Bachchan and Yami Gautam. So there is one line they say that, Abhishek Bachchan was sleeping after reading a book, and he says, if you don't sleep, how can you dream? Right? It was with reference to the fact that he dreams to become something, right? Or he dreams to qualify for the 10th examination. So in that context, I had used that, and immediately Yami Gautam corrects him and says that Abdul Kalam actually said that. He did not say that if you don't sleep, how will you dream? He actually said that people who dream do not sleep, right? Something like that. So it was I probably paraphrasing it. So essentially, what happens is, over time, when you develop a passion, 8 o'clock timings become okay. But other people work in very different ways. So see, over time, adults start having a routine. Once you fit into a routine, 8 a.m. becomes very normal. I think we all wake up at 5:30 and so on. So for us, I think it's straightforward. But I completely empathize with students, because they are coming from environments where things start at 9 or 10 typically, and parents are also, they feel that sympathy, or they feel that poor boy, let him sleep a little bit more. Here things run like clockwork.
Sir, मेरे तो घर वाले कहते हैं सुबह 6 बजे उठ जाओ, जिंदगी में सब सही है.
ये बोलते हैं because उनके लाइफ में एक्चुअली क्या होता है ना, even when I became an adult, and over time I have realized that early morning is a very productive and very nice time for me. So I think it's a systemic change. But earlier I used to sleep 10 hours easily. I also used to wake up at 12 sometimes as a student. So I completely understand, and I feel it's a part of growing up. You don't need to feel antagonized by it. Some days you'll wake up, some days you won't. But that is how it is, right? Once you develop passion for certain things, you will start waking up at different times, whatever it suits you. See, there are people who still sleep, quite late. I mean, my own family, certain people do sleep late, so I can't criticize them. Everybody has their own, sleep cycle, and life sort of sets you up for that when you grow up. So when you start becoming, when you reach the age of 30 or so, I think you will start waking up very early. You will observe that because you will be in the want of time. You feel time is not there. So let me wake up and start doing things so that I can finish things by night. So this will happen. So at your level, it's very unjust because I can empathize with you. But at our level, we are trying to fit in so many things in the day, so that makes more sense. Some teachers prefer it because they can finish off the lectures and the whole day they can do research activities or other activities. So that's the perspective. And I'm telling you, both these viewpoints will never merge. You will be treated as students or teenagers, okay, and we will be treated as adults.